Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Afrobution and I remain your favorite host. So, straight to the point. At a time when um, a lot of people are focusing their energy on learning soft skills and technical skills, you begin to wonder if we're actually making progress or if we are retrogressing. And I actually say this in the context of a lot of Africans in diaspora as well as Africans in Africa, especially in the light of our educational system, both in Africa back home and here in the diaspora. So I'm just going to break this down so it's clearer. Many years ago, most of our parents, our you know one generation, two generations back, a lot of them were not as educated as us because I mean, if you look at today in terms of the highest qualifications, you have like masters, you have PhDs. Typically most people do not want to stop at the first degree level, which is the bachelor's. If you're from the anglophone side, then if you're from, let's say, the lusophone, it's called licenciatura, and I think from if you're from the francophone, I don't know if it's baccalaureate or bachelor, you can correct me, but basically that first step after your high school or your secondary school level. So the point is, we have a lot of our parents who learned life skills, and what I mean by that is these people actually channeled their energy and time to learn skills like swimming, fishing, agriculture, basically growing their own food, hunting, basically things that people needed, to actually survive like day to day, you know. And gradually we began to see a shift in the kind of education or skills that people began to learn, started talking about negotiating skills, soft skills, conflict resolution skills, etc., etc. While this is not entirely bad, the only problem with this is that it seems like these skills are beginning to replace those life, hardcore skills that we actually need, to survive. So the focus today is actually on us as Africans here in the diaspora and the problem of overanalysis. So I'm just going to, talk quickly on specific bullet points. I visited Nigeria sometime in May, stayed for about 1 month, and learned a lot of things, different realities. Things have changed, and the landscape is actually evolving. And in terms of investments, there's like a lot of heavy presence of, the the Chinese, the Indians, the Lebanese. These people own businesses in the highbrow areas of Lagos, for example. If you go to the island, you go to the capital city of Lagos, which is Ikeja, and other big places in Lagos, even on the mainland in Surulere, for example. They have restaurants, they have fashion stores, they have malls, and these people are going in very, very aggressively. Now, on the flip side, if you go into the rural areas, I'm talking about Ogun State, especially in the southwest region, because of course I spent a little bit of time around those places, on personal stuffs. So you go to Ogun State, you see these people, they are buying the bushes, they are doing agriculture, they are doing hunting. Of course, what I mean by that is I'm talking about a commercial scale. You go there, these people still, do these things that are considered illegal. What I mean by that is, they go into the bushes, they get animals, they take the skin or specific parts of the animals. There is a documentary on YouTube. I think I can put the link down, somewhere in the comment section, so you can have a look. These people still engage in such kind of activities, and that's because, of course, they have so much money that they can basically bulldoze their way through our bushes, and of course, because they are able to, grease some palms with very, very heavy sums of money. So they have the funds. That's the first thing, and then of course, with having the funds comes having a little bit of leeway to actually break the law, to some extent. While of course I do not agree with what they do, but of course these things only happen because our leaders, in some from the local government, to the state government, are somehow complicit, they just want the money. So you see these people going into the bushes, they're doing agriculture, they're planting, what do you call it, palm trees, they're doing plantain farming, they're doing animal husbandry, they're doing food processing, and of course, if you go a little bit into like Ondo, and the other southwestern states where you have like a lot of how do you call it? You have a lot of rocks. They're also into the business of doing. I think they call that quarry. I think like a quarry where they crush stones and then they make different kind of products from it. Maybe granite and the others that is actually used for building. So my point is this: if you speak to a lot of Africans in diaspora, whether you're Nigerian, you're Ghanaian, you're South African, you're Tanzanian, there is this hesitation, especially when we have spent too much time in the diaspora, and it's not very far or it's not very uncommon for Africans in diaspora to always talk bad about their country back home. While this is understandable that we are dissatisfied with the situation of the country or of our continent, we cannot take away the fact that we are from that place, and this is a reality that we have to deal with even until we die. So what is my point exactly for today's episode? It's basically to say, while we're here in the diaspora feeling good, some of us earn really good, some of us earn averagely, some of us earn really, really high. We fall into the trap of demonizing our continent and our country so much that we become blind to the opportunities that are there. So you see a situation where you speak to an African brother in Europe or in America or in Canada, and then you tell them, hey, look, there is this business opportunity, I think this would be something good. In 5 years, in 10 years, we're going to get X amount of money. And then what do they tell you next? They tell you, oh, man, businesses don't thrive in that economy. It doesn't make sense. I'd rather put my money here in America, etc., etc. The economy is volatile. There is security problems, etc., etc. While I do not disagree with the fact that Africa has its myriad of problems, from administrative issues, political instability, etc., etc., poor infrastructure, lack of internet penetration for some countries, electricity, pipe-borne water and stuff like that. We must not overlook the fact that where you have more challenges, that is where you have more opportunities. So I'm going to give you a very, very typical example of this problem with Africans in diaspora who have gotten an education in the diaspora, who have stayed long enough that they are now removed from the realities of Africa, and the problem of overanalysis or overanalyzing. Now imagine, when I started, I mentioned, the trend of people learning life skills, like survival skills, like farming, fishing, hunting, things like that. So in case of a disaster, they know, their instinct kicks in, and I can go to the bush, I can get, I can hunt an animal, I can go to the water, I can fish, if I need to swim across, to get my family to safety, I can do these things. Now, a very simple example was this. I visited Nigeria, I went to Ogun State, and of course, I saw the things that people were doing, farming, for example. I remember vividly, this was around Aton. For people who know Ogun State, they will know this place. So I went there, just went around on a tour to see one or two things. And then I got to this place and I saw this guy. I'm not going to call him a young man per se. He was like a middle-aged man, maybe close to his 40s. He was there, and we exchanged pleasantries. Oh, so what are you doing? He said, oh, he's farming. He's doing vegetables. For those who are Yorubas, they will know efo, ewedu, cucumbers, and then Scotch bonnet pepper. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, and do you work for somebody? He was like, no. If he worked for somebody, he was not going to be working this hard. So it was his farm, and there he was, really, really big expanse of land, and he was there doing the job alone under the scorching sun. But of course, he told me something that was really profound, which was, if I was working for somebody, I wouldn't be putting this much hours and going through all this discomfort. I do this because this is mine. And then, of course, I stylishly asked him and I said, oh, but if you do all this, then this business must be really profitable. And of course, he confirmed to me that yes, the business is indeed profitable. The only setback is that, if he had, like, let's say, access to more funds so that, he can scale up and then get the necessary machines. So it means that he can work less and he can be more efficient. And actually, the produce would be way, way more than what he was actually doing. But even at that point, he was more than excited. You could see his face beaming with a lot of, satisfaction in what he was doing. So I sat back and I told him, I said, oh, how about if you have like some kind of, fund injection, like some kind of passive investment? He was like, yes, that's going to be good. However, he has to be sure that the conditions are very, very open, and no kind of shady clauses in the agreement. And as a matter of fact, this guy spoke more of Yoruba. He spoke one of the local languages of Nigeria, and he's not very fluent in even in pidgin English. So we spoke in Yoruba largely, but you could tell that he had the local intelligence. Like, he knew that what he was doing was had a lot of value, because he could, from his produce, he was going to eat from it, and then he was going to take the rest to the market. Now, guess what? It's usually a very difficult conversation to have with a lot of people in diaspora, especially when they have not been there for a long time, or when they are part of the bandwagon of people who just, chat a lot of negative things about Africa. So imagine if you were to discuss this with any of these people in quotes, diaspora, and the next thing you hear is, oh, well, they are going to ask you like a couple of questions. Hey, bro, let's raise some money. Let's make this investment. Let's get this parcel of land. Let's get this 6 plot of land, which is an acre. Or let's rake up some money and then let's buy 1 hectare. This guy on the ground, he's got the experience. He's got the skills. He's able to assign or assemble a team of manpower for them to run this stuff. So guess what? What you see most times is that there is this pessimism with, oh, I have to analyze this, you have to do this, do that. So I'm just going to put this in a much more relatable way. You tell a person, say, bros, come, this thing there, this opportunity there here, this guy at the farm, he get the experience. Make we raise like 5-10 inject inside this guy business, for the farming, so that you can go scale up and do these things. This guy go open Microsoft Excel for you, begin to do SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. For something where we say somebody's on the ground who's been doing it for, let's say, 10-15 years. Successful business. So most times, the only thing we need is just to trust that, hey, this guy has got the experience. The portfolio is there. The results are there. I think that should actually go a long way to gain the trust to say, okay, look, I think we can actually start something, even if we need to start small. So what I'm saying in a sense here is that sometimes that penchant, that urge to always overanalyze, to show that, oh, we know Microsoft Excel, we know Tableau, we know Power BI, we can do visualization. It puts us in that perpetual circle of losing out on opportunities. Remember what I told you. The Indians are there, the Chinese are there, the Lebanese are there in Nigeria. And guess what? Some of these people do not even have a master's. They do not have PhDs. Sometimes most of them didn't even go to. They don't even have the first degree. Most of them had like vocational education and technical education. And guess what? These guys are there taking chances and then finding opportunities while we are here as diasporans. Walking around with our computers. We are very good in Microsoft Excel, but guess what? We do not even know how to properly till the ground and then put seedlings in order for us to even do the most basic of farming. Many of us do not even know how to fish. Many of us don't even know how to swim. We have no idea how to hunt, obviously. We're living in a much more developed world, nobody goes hunting and stuff like that. Understood. But my point is that most of us, if we really, really look deep down, we don't have a lot of life skills. Our parents are able to survive more. I'll give you an example. My parents have been in the village now, retired to their village home more than 10 years ago. Guess what? The back of our house now is filled with different kind of crops. Why? My mom and my dad, they grew up at the time when people learned life skills, survival skills. You have to make your own food. You go on Instagram, you go on YouTube, and there is all this noise about, oh, we have to go back to farming and all that. As if this is not something that Africans were already doing, you know? Because, for me, I find it really worrying when it seems like the West always needs to give us like a reality check as Africans for us to go back to the things that originally we were actually doing before the world, took a cue from us. So this is basically just what I wanted to share with we, the diasporans. It's very, very important we begin to overlook the noise about the negatives of Africa and begin to see how we can explore and tap into these opportunities without falling into the trap of overanalyzing. You bring out an Excel spreadsheet, you draw the graph. If you look at the projection in 2 years, most startup businesses fail and things like that. When we come to the realization that we actually learn more through doing, I think we'll be in a much more better place, as opposed to you have never tried, you have never done, you have never ventured, but you are here with all your spreadsheets, with all your project management tools and softwares, which, by the way, some of them are free, some of them are freemiums and premiums, and then with all your visualization tools, making all the analysis, and the projections. Oh, let's do a regressive analysis. Let's do a progressive analysis. Pie chart, histogram, and bar chart. This is bull crap. I can tell you that there are people on the floor, there are boots on the ground, where these guys do not overanalyze. Hey, they have the seeds, they have the land, they till the floor, they till the ground. They put the seeds. 3 days, 4 days, watering, it begins to sprout, and these guys are there, they are making a truckload of money. I can tell you that because I saw for myself. But it's a different conversation when you tell Africans in diaspora, hey, let's pull funds together, let's do this, let's, see how we can, expand these agricultural business that these guys already do. Because look, we're not on ground, we're not ready to retire yet. So the thing is, we have to leverage on the expertise of the people who are actually on the ground. But guess what? You speak to them and they give you 10, 20, 30 reasons why it's not going to work. So basically, we will self-sabotage. Why? Because we just want to sound very, very educated. So the question you ask is, has our education now become a stumbling block? Has it become more of a curse than a blessing to most of us in the diaspora? I think this is a very, very important question for us to ask ourselves. And I think on this note, I'm just going to pause and leave you to reflect a little bit, because I think this is something that is killing the Africans in diaspora. And it means that if for any reason we lose, our investments, whatever, our portfolio, whatever it is we've invested on here in Europe or in Americas, it means that we are back to zero. So I hope that we're able to take a chance on some of these business opportunities in Africa. The Lebanese are there, the Indians are there, the Chinese are there, they are doing farming, they're doing agriculture, they're on the ground. They do not necessarily have to, dig the ground and put in the seeds, but these guys are there, they are taking the risk, and they are not, sitting in the offices, with the air condition and the suit and the ties and the blazers. No, these guys are there with their flip-flops, with their shorts, with their hats, and then they are in the farms, they are in the forests. I'm hoping that we do not lose out on the numerous opportunities in Africa just because of the kind of education that we have received in recent times that basically prioritizes, soft skills, let me put it, over the hardcore life skills needed to survive. I remain your host, Okoke Chukwedo, and I hope that this has been a very enlightening session. Please consider subscribing and liking, commenting on our channel, as this brings a lot of engagement, and it helps us YouTube, the algorithm, push our channel to recommend to new people so that they can learn. Guys, that's me done, and I'll catch you on the very next one. Thank you.